Welcome to Security Weekly. I am your host, Matt Alderman. We are recording live from BlackHat 2019. We're in our suite in Mandalay Bay, and joining me for this interview is Mike Weber, Vice President of Coalfire Labs. Welcome.
Thanks, Matt.
So here's two Colorado guys, right? We live kind of at opposite ends of Denver on the other sides, but we get together in Las Vegas to have a conversation.
Sure, I see a lot of people here in Vegas every year that I don't see even around the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly right. So we're going to cover some interesting research that your team is doing recently and get into some of the details. I think we're going to start with industrial or IoT. I sometimes say industrial IoT slash IoT, depending on which angle of the Internet of Things we
Right.
want to review. So what's some of the research you've been doing in the IoT space lately?
So what we've been doing in IoT is some research into practical applications of being able to exploit these systems to cause some physical damage in certain cases. Right now, we're working on a project. It's proof of concept to exploit basically 3D printers. So cloud-enabled service 3D printing systems to be able to cause. Our objective is to cause fire.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to
Got it,
light
yeah.
light 3D printers on fire through remotely exploitable channels.
Yeah, Art Coviello and RSA, I think it was like 2013, somewhere in there, in his keynote at RSA said, look, we're getting to the point now where we can have a destructive attack, right? That we have this proliferation of devices, and the way attackers are going is that we could actually destroy something. And what your team sounds like they're trying to do is to see how real it is to actually create a fire or cause some damage.
Right. I mean, we've been talking about that for years. There was work up at Idaho National Labs many years ago, over a dozen years ago, against power generators, flipping them on and off until they self-destructed, which was done over the network just by exploiting the openness of the protocols that are used to communicate with them. So, in that same vein, we're attempting to have a proof of concept to be able to reverse engineer a common 3D printer that is cloud-enabled and remotely be able to rewrite the firmware, update it, and then cause it to melt itself down.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's
Yeah, scary.
yeah, it's a fun proof of concept, and that's one of the things that our R&D team does is get into the new cutting-edge technologies and try to do some fun stuff. It's really to be able to promote awareness of the security risks in some of these solutions.
Now, are there other areas in IoT that you're also looking at? Industrial control systems, corporate networks outside of 3D printers. What else is out there?
Sure. So we get a lot of work from clients looking for us to test non-traditional IT solutions. So devices, hardware testing, and every piece of hardware now is internet connected. So there aren't a lot of things that aren't within the Internet of Things.
Right.
So while we're doing a lot of work in that space, we're also doing some work in industrial control systems and the SCADA space. Now, we're not doing too much on the R&D side because it's not exactly the easiest thing to do to be able to set up a functional lab environment that we wouldn't mind destroying, of course.
Right.
But that is also it's on our horizon to be able to do some of that work.
Yeah, that's a scary area for me because so much of our critical infrastructure in the United States and in anywhere around the world has a lot of these SCADA industrial control systems in them. A lot of people don't understand those systems, I think, in how they work and communicate, and a little scary if they get connected to the internet and what could happen
Absolutely.
potentially to those devices. We're also going to talk command and control channels a little bit. So what's some of the research you're doing
Sure.
there on C2?
So there's a proliferation of applications that promote collaboration and communication, right? I mean, they're all over. They're used. It's the effect of the bring your own device days, where the user community in an organization ends up driving some of the collaborative applications that are used within an organization.
Right.
So what we found is that organizations are facilitating this because there's a lot of benefits to be gained. People are more productive, work gets done more efficiently. That organizations are allowing these third-party or external apps to be used as collaboration and communication platforms, which means that it is free reign to be coming in and out of an organization.
Right.
So we have just recently released a tool called Slacker. We built it on the very robust Slack API.
Yep.
And it leverages Slack to be used as a communication as a CNC channel for compromised systems within an
Mm.
organization. So in a red team context, we would use that to be able to exfiltrate information out of the organization and to
Yeah.
be able to control the systems and move laterally within the organization for the systems that are compromised.
Got it.
Again, it was a bit of a proof of concept,
Right.
just to bring awareness to the fact that a lot of these uncontrolled applications and communication channels are presenting a risk to organizations.
Yeah, we've seen lots of software that gets installed on machines that have phone home capabilities. And embedded in some of that phone home capability is this covert channel that is actually being used for command and control across. And so it sounds like you looked at Slack, obviously, which is
Right.
one of the big ones, but any other types of those? Because we've covered on the different shows some of these other kind of phone home technologies that also could be these covert channels.
Sure. Well, the impetus for Slacker was there was a open source tool called Twitter.
Mm,
So it used Twitter for the same purpose.
right.
We just built one using Slack. It's a little more robust and there had more functionality.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Also, you said you were doing some cloud research, probably a little more associated to IoT and edge, but curious, kind of what research you're doing over there on the cloud side.
So we are. So the cloud components are part of all the research work that we do, pretty much, because everything is using the cloud. Every organization is using the cloud. There's a huge migration to the cloud. There are cloud providers of every type that are looking for security services as well.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of work in this space. With this and with IoT as the tie-in here, the IoT systems, IoT is not IoT without the cloud.
It
Being
needs
able
to
to
communicate and do something somewhere, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and using the channels and specific features of cloud providers' IoT services, we're able, those are things that facilitate the deployment of these devices, the rapid development and deployment into the field, and the operations. So the cloud functions in the IoT space are really where the backbone is.
Hmm.
Now, doing R&D on systems that you can purchase and have in your lab, which presumably gives you the right to be able to test it in however way you
Right.
would want to. We can't test the back end systems.
Right.
So a lot of the work that we're doing from that perspective is man in the middle and being in between the system and the cloud
Yep.
as the proof of concept. On the flip side of that, we work out theoretical ways to be able to do this across a cloud provider. Now, testing a cloud provider without their permission, you could clearly see that would be a bit of a problem.
Just a
So
little bit. I'm sure AWS and Microsoft don't
Right.
don't appreciate that.
they don't look kindly on that. No.
Yeah.
But we find that that's a key part of the infrastructure that I think is a little bit light on testing from the security
Mhm.
community because of the nature
Right.
of violating terms and conditions and getting
Infrastructure
sued
may
or
be a little easier, but platform as a service,
Right.
definitely, and true software as a service
Right.
would be really, really difficult.
right. And we do a lot of work in the software as a service space as well for many of the large cloud providers
Got
and
it.
organizations that are moving to the cloud. I don't think there is software that isn't software as a service anymore. It's really challenging to find those
Yeah.
instances.
Everything as a service,
Right.
or in the case of development, everything is code.
Right.
Uh, seen anything with edge computing? Because one of the interesting use cases with IoT, industrial IoT, is kind of these edge computing environments that are kind of the middle ground to full back-end cloud, right? Have you done any research there? I'm just curious, kind of what you're seeing with the edge providers and edge technologies.
Yeah, we haven't really done anything in that space. It is very. I think it's got a lot of potential though.
Yeah,
For the future.
and we saw the last company I worked for on the container security side, we were seeing a lot of new edge computing devices coming in for these IoT sensors to talk to as kind of an intermediary
Right.
broker. You might have multiples of them then communicating back to a cloud service. So we're going to add another layer in this
Right.
research at some point for you guys. I'm
Right.
just curious if you'd done anything
Right.
there.
Well, when we're testing solutions under contract, of course.
Right.
Then that's where we're seeing a lot of that, and it's really interesting to see how different providers are building their solutions based on different cloud models. Some go all in. Some solution manufacturers will go all in on one platform, one vendor,
Right.
one cloud vendor. Whereas some will go for a hybrid model or build things that are extensible, where you can swap in and out based on whoever their organization, whatever organization they're building a solution for, prefers.
Yeah.
I think that's telling, really. one of the so on another topic, I'll just keep changing topics on you.
Yeah.
On another topic, we do a research report every year that covers aggregated findings for what we've seen in previous years or in the previous year, and we've got the new version of that coming out here. Hoping to have that out by September. It covers a year of the penetration testing work that we've done. And what we found is in prior years that we've done, that we've looked at, there are plenty of traditional enterprise vulnerabilities.
Right.
Because the cloud providers are looking to go to market, so they're looking to employ our services for the testing. For organizations that are building solutions now, they're being built in the cloud. So we are testing on cloud providers much more in the last year than we ever have before. So just as the industry is going, well, so is our practice. Our practice is focusing more on the cloud because that's where all of the demand is. And we're seeing a different type of vulnerability across these things too. Primarily, they go from technical vulnerabilities that can be exploited or whatever to configuration issues.
Yeah, some misconfiguration.
Yeah, when there's multiple configurations that you can leverage to be able to compromise a solution. Similar to what recently happened with the Capital One incident.
Well, and as we've seen lots of S3 bucket misconfigurations, allowing data to be exfiltrated. So, Paul and I have talked a lot about this in various shows. Is the new vulnerability is the misconfiguration in the cloud. It's not I've got a remote code execution vulnerability. I have the vulnerability because something is misconfigured and it's allowing somebody to get in that shouldn't be able to get in.
Too many permissions on a service account or things like that, which are, we find that in practice all the time. It's reflected in our report that's coming out. It's really interesting to see that the work that we do actually reflects what the trends
what you're
are.
Seeing. Yeah. That's interesting. Anything else you want to cover? Did we hit it all?
I think we did. We spoke about R&D. Obviously, we're here at BlackHat. We have our booth down on the vendor floor. It's been a great show. Caught the keynote by Dino. I could butcher his last name if I get it, but his keynote that talked about every security company is now a software security company, or every security organization, software security organization. Same thing with everything moving to the cloud and how that is changing the face of technology.
I've seen Dino's keynote in Asia like 2 years ago, and it was fantastic. The pace of change with applications is going to change the way we have to think about security, and a big believer of that for sure.
Absolutely.
If people want to get more information about Coalfire or to get your report when it comes out, where should they go?
Oh, sure. It's all available on coalfire.com. We have a section on our website. Nothing real special about it, except it covers all of our labs, functions, and services, as well as our R&D team. Links to all the things that we've deployed as open source on our GitHub page.
Awesome.
And so everything's up there, including all the tools that we've talked about here.
Great. Thanks, Mike, for joining us.
Thanks, Matt.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.